Macabre Cast.
The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the little mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. Well, Chorus, Fangoria reports that Miramax and Trans International are getting together, and I guess they own the Halloween franchise, and they're planning on making this into a TV series. Wow, so soon after the David Gordon Green Halloween's surprise, there almost seems like they're beating this to death. Of course, I have no problem with this, and I'll watch it. I am excited. I think if I did this, though, if this was left up to me, I would call the series Haddonfield. And I would have it one-off stories, maybe some that tie into the original story, maybe some that don't. They even talk about that story in the original Halloween. They mentioned Russellville and the guy that had killed his whole family 15 years ago around the same time that Michael Myers killed his sister. Stories like that. I think that would work, almost like that anthology Carpenter wanted to do. But who am I, Carrison? No one's knocking my door down and asking for these ideas. That's just how I would do it if it was handed to me.
Correctamundo. You hit the nail on the head. No one's asking.
And Screen Rant reports that The Strangers, the reboot, that Chapter 1, 2, and 3, will destroy the entire premise of the 16-year-old franchise. Why? The whole premise is what made that movie so frightening. Unknown killers who kill with no motive and no reason. You get rid of that, you destroyed it all right. I don't know what you have left after that, though. And I watched Nix, N-I-X, from 2022 on Netflix with Dee Wallace. The preview was much scarier. The movie not so much. And a little convoluted at places where it didn't need to be.
Let's talk. Won't you tell me what is wrong? Yeah, let's talk.
Hey, Doc Mark and Karis, Horror Chat Matt here. Just wrapped up your latest episode and another excellent show as always. The news that Blumhouse is interested in James Wan writing and directing a new Friday 13th is definitely exciting. While I wasn't the biggest fan of what they did with the last 3 Halloween movies, they definitely had some good ideas, even if they didn't execute it as well as I would have liked them to. I know you were a big fan, but that's the great thing about movies and art. You don't always have to like everything that other people like. If you like it, good. If you don't, oh well, you always have the original movies to go back to. And speaking of Halloween, it seems that they may be joining Friday 13th on the small screen, as they are on the fast track to develop a new Halloween TV series. Reading directly from the press release, it says the foundation of the new show is the original film, the John Carpenter movie. The characters of that film, and perhaps a group of characters that we haven't really focused on that much in recent film versions, or even in a number of them. It's a creative reset, completely and going back to the original film, as opposed to spinning out of any of the more recent film adaptations. Definitely some exciting news for sure. I myself personally would love to see them go back to what the original idea was for the Halloween series, of basically making it like an anthology series where you tell different horror-themed stories, and then, every couple episodes go back for a Michael Myers type story, and just really spread the world out of Haddonfield. And I think it could be an excellent series. Hopefully that's the direction they go in. I feel like we've already seen several times a retelling of Halloween or little expanded stories here or there. So I'd like to see them mix it up a little so you don't just get Michael Myers every single episode. What do you think, Dark Mark? Do you think that's a format that would work? Can't wait for the next episode. And as always, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Horror Chat Matt, as always. And you see, you and I think more alike than you know. You didn't even know I said most of that about the Halloween TV series, and there you are, thinking out of the same box. And before we get to Grim Kim this week, she had texted me and asked me, or was curious about how I would rank the Scream films in order of best to worst. So I'm going to do that right now. Scream franchise ranked.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I guess I dialed the wrong number.
Well, so why'd you dial it again?
To apologize.
You're forgiven. Bye now.
Wait, don't hang up.
What?
I want to talk to you for a second.
They've got 900 numbers for that. See ya.
So, number one, obviously, the original Scream. I mean, it's the one that started it all. It turned the callers coming from inside the house trope on its head. For its time, people just weren't used to seeing horror movies being referenced in a horror film. And I do remember when I first saw it in the theater, I loved it, especially the opening scene with Drew Barrymore. And number two favorite is Scream 2, and I promise these are not going to all go in the same order as the films. But I think Scream 2 is the horror junkies' salute to the American sequel. Not just horror film sequels, but sequels in general. A really fun movie. A little longer than I would expect, but yeah, so Scream 2 is definitely my number 2.
It's your number 2? I thought you said you liked it.
Let's try to keep the show out of the gutter, can we, Karis? So my number 3 was titled Scream, or as we all know is really Scream 5. This was, much more gorier and brutal than the other Scream films, which, as you know, that how much I like that. And it was a great call out to the film world's newfound requels, these reboots of films like Halloween and everything. I really enjoyed Scream, or as we all know, Scream 5. So that's my number 3. Next at number 4 would be Scream 6, because we moved past all the old characters and on to the new interesting characters that were set up in 5 with, New York, new rules. Again, very brutal, very bloody. Loved it. Number 5 would be Scream 4 with the 2 fake openings. I did enjoy this movie, but it's the one I seem to forget the most, although I do like the addition of the new character of Deputy Judy by Marley Shelton. She brings a lot to it, and it's a great setup for her part in Scream 5. And lastly, even though many would probably disagree with me, is Scream 3. And no, it's not because of Courtney Cox's terrible haircut. It's the one that takes place in Hollywood. It was probably the first one not written by Kevin Williamson. And the best part of the film is Randy's cameo with the rules of the trilogy on the videotape. They did wrap this up really nice. It all could have ended here, but just not my favorite of the Scream franchise. And that's Scream franchise ranked.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween. You know, the one with the guy in the white mask who walks around and stalks babysitters?
And there you go, Grim Kim, the Scream franchise ranked. Which gives me an idea. It reminds me of the old Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine that I read as a kid. And in the back, they used to have this big page called You Axed For It, where fans would request pictures of things or different things like that. I think that's going to be maybe a new feature on this show. It'll kind of be a little send up to Famous Monsters. You asked for it, so keep that in mind. You ask, we deliver.
Speaking of Grim Kim, we have a call here from Blood Beach.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, little Karis. How are you doing? Walking Brownie on the beach. It's a beautiful morning. Thursday morning. I decided I'd meet the deadline. I was just listening to Radio Rental podcast, which Rainn Wilson from The Office does. And it's scary story, real stories of the supernatural, that kind of thing. And this one particular story I just listened to got me thinking of something creepy that happened to me when I was a kid. And I'd love to hear your creepy or true life creepy stories of something that happened when you were a kid that's unexplained or could have went real bad. So me, my twin sister, and Ron Baker next door, we decided to have a caterpillar farm by removing all the caterpillar nests off the trees and sticking them in a coffee can. So we're standing roadside going, caterpillar farm, 25 cents. So this guy on his motorcycle pulls over, and he has his 70s afro and his dark glasses on, and he's asking us about the caterpillar farm, and he doesn't have a quarter, but he does at his house he lives right down the street. If me and my sister wants to get on the back of his bike, and he'll take us and give us the money, and then he'll bring us back. And me and Chris, I don't think my mom will let me leave the yard. And Ronnie's like, well, I'll go. And the dude's like, no. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how old we were, probably about 7, 8. All of a sudden, Ronnie gets this look on his face. And he like puts his arms in front of me and Chris and like steps us all back on the sidewalk. He's like, we're all set, yeah. And the guy's like, okay. And he takes off, and oh my God, it's so chilling. To look back, it's so chilling. And my neighbor, Ron Baker, he ended up becoming a state trooper for decades. He just retired, I think, like last couple of years. And I'm going to have to remind him and thank him about that, because thank God someone's gut instinct kicked in. I've been sick all week, so I've been watching some movies, some good, some bad, some indifferent. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Yes, that was a fun jaunt. It gets me thinking, okay, Patrick Dempsey's in it. It's like, okay, are they friends in real life? Were they filming close to home? Because I know Patrick, he's like a Mainer, I think. And did he accept the role because of that? It was a good money gig. I'm just interested in why the people accepted the roles. Was it just a fun romp that he was going to have to worry about the dialogue so much? Anyway, yes, it was fun. Me and my son watched a movie. They classify it as horror, but it wasn't. And it was about like a prehistoric tribe that lands on this island. It's called Evil Passes Here or something like that. I'll look it up. And it was good. I just hate it when it's touted as horror when it's not. It was a thriller. That's okay. It took me 3 sit-downs to not fall asleep and finish Dark Harvest. Very enjoyable. I like that one a lot. Absolutely. So I just wanted to throw out some nice things to you. I am standing in front of the ocean right now, and what a beautiful day. Hope you guys have a beautiful day too, and just so happy for more daylight. And oh, I got a cool Medusa sweatshirt too. Actually, in a couple colors, Dark Mark, so I'll try to send you a photo of that. Okay, looking forward to seeing Dark Mark in Blizzard of Oz, 3/29. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Always great to hear from you, Grim Kim. Thanks. And looking forward to pics of your horror merch. And get well. Get rid of that cold. Because Blizzard of Oz parties like it's the 1980s, and it's going to be a fun night. Hope to see you there.
Deep, death, dive.
This week's Deep Dark Dive is The House is the Star. This is one we'll revisit from time to time, where the big star of the film is the house itself. This time out, it's the 1932 picture, The Old Dark House, directed by James Whale, starring Boris Karloff as Morgan, Charles Laughton as Sir William Porterhouse, Miss Titanic star herself, Gloria Stewart, as Margaret Waverton, and my personal favorite boogeyman, Ernest Thesiger, Dr. Pretorius himself as Horace Fem.
He's upstairs. He's very old.
Oh, is he?
He's 102.
That's very old, isn't it?
He's a wicked, blasphemous old man.
While seeking shelter from a treacherous rainstorm, our weary traveling protagonists soon find it in the gloomy, foreboding mansion of the Fem family, the 1932 equivalent of Rob Zombie's pack of household freaks, the Fireflies, in House of a Thousand Corpses. Well, maybe not to that level anyway, but certainly strange secrets are abound. But there's far more tongue-in-cheek here than scares. But the true creepiness of this fantastic picture is the house. Dark shadows and candlelight truly put this house in the top 5 of creepy dwellings.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry. New week, new movie to review. For this week's viewing, I chose a relatively unknown release to Prime Video called Dark Harvest. Directed by David Slade, who brought us the psychological horror Hard Candy, and a rather interesting take on vampire horror with 2007's 30 Days of Night. This is an interesting formula. Take a bunch of new or unknown actors and actresses, give it a 1960s Midwest setting, introduce a new monster, Sawtooth Jack, and an annual ritual. Makes for a rather interesting and fairly entertaining movie. Now, every Halloween season in this small town, an evil creature rises. Sawtooth Jack will run rampant, tearing up the town as he makes his way to the town church. The teen boys in town are selected to hunt down Sawtooth Jack, and they must kill him and eat what's inside of him before midnight, or if Sawtooth Jack reaches the town church, they foresee years of terrible crops and poor harvest. The movie opens at a frenetic pace. The hunt is already in progress. It culminates with that year's winner, Jim Shepard, who is rewarded with a brand new Corvette, while his younger brother and parents are given a bigger home to live in. Jim rejects his little brother's Richie request to take him with him on the road, because as part of the winnings, it's a chance to see the country on the town's dime. But Jim leaves on his own, with only cryptic postcards and occasional letters explaining his whereabouts outside the town. Fast forward to 1 year later, and Richie is stuck in his older brother's shadow. But desperate to find out where his brother ended up, he's part of a ragtag group of outsiders at his school, and though, as a brother to the previous winner and barred from participating in the next hunt, he chooses to do so anyways. He ends up teaming up with a pretty teen who works at the movie theater, who reveals her parents were recently killed in a car wreck. Now, this movie reminds me of a combination of The Outsiders, Lord of the Flies, The Truman Show, and a fascinating story called The Lottery. I recommend you read that before you watch this movie. Now, I can't go into more detail as I would be giving away too much of this movie. Now, I give this a strong recommendation to watch, as well as giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I still find myself irritated that too many male characters in horror movies lately are portrayed as weak pushovers, and we do get that in this movie a lot. However, I was not disappointed with the level of gore, creative kills, and some twists, even though I figured out the town secret relatively early. Can you?
Sounds like a good one. And thank you, Scary Larry, for making the show as good as it can be. Before we close the show, I just want to take a moment to say goodbye to my great Aunt Rose, who passed on this past week. I'll see you on the other side. I hope and wish there it will be Christmas Eve in your living room every day, and the whole family will be back together again. Maybe there will be someone else that can do the cooking for you. Till we meet again, goodbye. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon.
This is a Macabre Theater production.